Hey, Mr. Clash, and today we're going to be having a look at GOBOWIWI, which is golems, bowlers, witches, and wizards. Have a look at the combination down below. You've got 3 golems and 8 witches. Most of these attacks are going to be using them. So let's just dive right into it and make adjustments as we go. Just speed this up to get rid of the wasted time at the start. And okay, here we go. So the 3 golems have gone down. Whoopsie. 3 golems have gone down and then immediately followed up by the witches and the wizards. Now the witch skellies will path forward and they will take out a lot of the trash, creating a massively wide funnel in this case. And as per WITCHSLAP sort of standards or whatever, you have the bowlers coming in straight through the guts of the core to take out the all the stuff in the middle. Golems doing a massive amount of tanking, which is what you want them to do, ideally, to get into the core. But you can see the bowlers took out all of that outside ring, so there was very little reason for the golems to all jump into the core. Now you've got that one at the top is pathing around again, and I'll just speed this up a little bit so that we can see how all this eventually works out over time with the queen and the golems tanking and the heroes doing a little bit of extra work in there. Now, it's much like a bit of a push into the base, like say on a Gobo Lalo, bringing the golems and the wizards and the bowlers. But where it differs is that you've got the witch skellies there to help a little bit. Now, I've just slowed this down again so you can just see how this tail end is going to go. Now, this queen does do something very unusual here that I haven't seen in a long time, and that is she uses the holes in the existing walls to actually path around the base instead of deciding to shoot through walls and just wasting her time. Now, of course, if she'd probably shot through the walls, then she would have probably not been able to 3-star this base. Now, watch what she does here after she takes down this cannon. You can see there's a hole in the wall just behind her, and then another one at the other side of where the skellies are heading for. So I'm not sure if she made a decision that it was quicker to do that, to try and shoot a wall instead of walking around, but going by the skelly speed, I'm pretty sure she could have kept up with the skellies. They got all the way around to the cannon to try and help the golem over there, so that was rather interesting. So that's the first GOBOWIWI attack. Now you will notice, we'll go into the others and I'll keep on going. Now do pay particular attention to how the witches get deployed and how the golems and wizards also get deployed. Now there are slight little variations, but pretty well they follow the same sort of theme, and all of them are coming in with 8 witches essentially. So in this case you notice that the golem went down first, and then a little clump of witches and wizards. Now the golem's gone down first again. You can get the wizards down earlier, and then also the witches to follow. And the witches are a little bit more spread. Now in your traditional GOBOWIWI, what you would have had is you would have spread the wizards and have a little clump of witches in the middle, so all the skellies can get into the middle. But with this GOBOWIWI, your bowlers are doing that job that all the skellies would have done in the previous version of this sort of attack before bowlers existed. So they get into the middle and they do all the tanking and pushing and things like that. Now your witches need to path around the outside to obviously clear some of the trash. Now possibly one of the most interesting things, you'll notice that as we look through these 7 attacks, and I'll just speed this up again, you will notice that as we look through the 7 attacks, not everyone brings wall breakers, and sometimes you can just get the double jump to go into the base. So the main thing is to look at the base and see how you can get maximum use out of pathing into the base with your double jump spell. Now obviously this one had to bring wall breakers in, so to break through that first layer and then get in through the second layer. The other thing you will notice is that all of the spells end up being used in the base, and you're basically relying on your skellies and witches with the backup of some wizards that will go astray or walk around on the outside to take out all the rest of the trash. So in that case, it is a little bit of a riskier attack. Now let's have a look at the third one. All right, now the other thing that you'll also notice as these attacks get underway is that they all seem to be around about 2.5 minutes, which is pretty well the standard sort of time that your basic WITCHSLAP also takes. Now, of course, the difference is in the WITCHSLAP you're bringing healers to keep the witches alive. And because you're bringing healers, you obviously can't bring as many other back-end troops or backup troops, such as, in this case, there are 3 golems to come into the base and do a lot of tanking. Now, I'll just speed this up as well. So with the 3 golems coming in, you're getting a massive amount of tanking in the middle of the base. That's the ideal, while your other troops path around the outside. Now, you can see sometimes it goes a little bit awry. You can see that up on the left-hand side, the top left, the witches have all perished up there, so the golems and the witches have all pathed around to the right-hand side. So in that sort of sense, you just dropped a couple of little archers on the wizard up there while it's shooting the king. But in that sort of sense, in terms of you've dropped all the spells and everything early on, you are kind of reliant. It is a little bit of a risk that you can't really fully plan where everything's going to go. Like there's no way to plan that I want 3 bowlers to go inside and 2 to come outside with the witches or something like that. And it's so that a planning ability for the whole attack is a little bit diminished. And you will notice, look at the health of this queen. She is almost down. So a lower level queen that wasn't maxed definitely would have gone down. Now we'll have a look at the next one. So the main idea is that if you're going to be doing this sort of attack, I do recommend that you do practice it in friendly challenges in your own village. Just speed this up to get the initial troops coming down, which will come up there. So there we go. We can slow that down just a little. So you can see that deployment of the witches have been spread around. Nice little spread of the witches. Nice little spread of the wizards. And it's basically all down. There is 1 witch left to go. And now she's come down with the bowlers. So the skellies and things that she will should be able to come into the base. Now they will do a little bit of distracting wizards in there as well with a little bit of a rage spell to help them along their way. Now, of course, in traditional sort of a witch slap, if you could say witch slap is traditional, you don't really care, you don't need to care about the enemy archer queen, and pretty well the same in this as well. With the amount of bowlers will aggro onto enemy queens or enemy heroes, they'll also aggro onto enemy CC troops, and so will witch skellies. And generally speaking, the enemy archer queen is kind of like a secondary consideration. So unlike a hog attack where you need to take care of the queen, or an air attack where you must have a plan for the queen, in these witch-based attacks it almost doesn't really matter. You can ignore the queen, and that makes it good because it means that you can work out a better place to enter the base from, regardless of where the queen is. So there are other considerations. Can you take out X-bows? Can you take out point defense or splash damage like wizards or Tesla farms, or mortars or things like that, with an initial push into the base with bowlers, of course, I'm talking about being able to take out those things with a bowler push into the base, because they're going to be the main threat to witches. Okay, on to the next one. Now what you will notice in all of these attacks is there is a very slight variation in the deployment of the wizards and the witches and things like that. So in this attack, most of the witches have come on the outside edges, and very few in for the middle. That's on this attack, but on other attacks you saw that there was a good spread on the bases. Now the thing that I dislike, as we just speed this up and you can see just how the witches and the skellies and the bowlers and the golems all kind of work together. The thing that I dislike about this is, as I previously mentioned, with the ability to plan the route through the base. You have an idea, you have a hope, I'd like things to go this way, I'd like things to go that other way, and so on and so forth. But you can't plan, just like this queen in the box here at the moment where she is. You couldn't plan that she was actually going to take that jump spell and then come in and take out that Tesla farm. That you couldn't really plan that. You might have hoped something would do that. If it was a fresh hit, you didn't know the Tesla farm was there, in which case you go, well, I didn't know the Tesla farm was there. But these sorts of plans, you can't plan that something is going to go all the way through the base and then break out through a hole in the wall at the end. You can't really plan that. So in that sort of sense, it's a little bit of a put everything down and kind of a hope attack. Now we'll move on to the next one. So you are kind of hoping that all of the troops and everything will make it through the base. And again, you'll notice that they're all just between about 2 minutes and 2.5 minutes. So you've got the wizards going down. Now you don't have to put everything down in one hit. You can stagger it. Obviously, if there's outside trash, there's no point dropping a golem down if it's going to get smashed and the wizards are still busy dealing with a whole heap of trash. If you can get that trash out of the way and the wizard's still alive, then the wizards will be fine. The golems will take less damage. So if you have a look at this golem in the middle, it's getting hammered by an X-bow and a geared up double cannon. Now, if you just dumped the golem down, then what that means is it may have eventually gotten through. I've just triggered the clean radius to show you. It may have eventually gotten through that mortar while your wizards and everything were still trying to deal with the trash. So if you can get your trash troops down before weapons and things need to fire, that's in terms of if you need to get rid of trash because the golems would be taking damage. That's the whole reason. If the golems are going to be taking massive amounts of damage, then you need to think, can I get other troops down out of the way to possibly deal with some of that trash before I get the golems down. And this is where the witches come in handy, because you can spawn the witches back further, so they won't get targeted by any of the weapons, but their skellies will all run forward. Their skellies will start taking out the trash. So in that case where you couldn't drop a wizard because it would get fired on by the time it was in range, and you can't drop the golems because they'll start to get smashed, in this way you can drop the witches just a little bit further back. Their skellies will run forward and start taking out the trash, and then you can drop the golems, and then you can also get the wizards as backup. So with the aid of the skellies going forward, the wizards just further back, the witches also now moving forward to start taking out the shooting weapons such as the archer towers and cannons, or at least take out the trash as well. By then your golems have moved forward and they're doing the tanking. So the outside trash goes down very fast with the aid. So that's a little bit of a difference, but you still need to take that into consideration. Now lift this run slower because we're almost at the end. So one more attack to show. Now before we get into this attack, I just want to point your eyes down to the time on it. That's 1 minute 44 seconds to wipe out a max defenses Town Hall 9 with pretty decent heroes. They're not slouches, they're not like level 5 King and Queen, they're decent. But as I always said about the Witch Slap itself, don't worry about the heroes. The skeletons at the minimum will take care of it. Also, I just want to draw your attention to these air defenses and the expo ranges, just to see in terms of how that relates to the attack, and that it is a wizard farm in the middle of the base. Okay, so we'll get into this now. We'll have a look at this last little attack coming in. So you've got a golem on the left there. Golem's coming down, and now the witches pathed on the outside first. The skellies will run forward, create that nice little outside funnel, and now they've triggered a Tesla over there, so the outside golem has gone pathing around, but massive amounts of skellies still helping to deal with that. The witches and wizards all sort of work together by the time you get them all down. Now you'll notice that in this case there are no wall breakers, so just a double jump into the base, and of course you can probably figure out the next jump will be going where that clan castle is. There you go, and that grants access to the entire rest of the base from that point on, and then it's only just the outside compartments where those 2 Teslas just popped, where the bomb tower is and the air defenses are. Now of course the difference is with a Witch Slap you've got healers, and the healers would be going down at this point. So that's not to say the witches won't go down without healers either, but in terms of troop space and availability, you're sacrificing or changing out healers for a few other things, such as the golems, maybe a few more witches, or whatever other troops you think you might need as you look at the base, such as the wall breakers, or in this case here's a minion coming in to help out as well. At least it will help out as much as it can until the air defense takes it out. So the standard basic troop is you're looking at 3 golems, 8 witches, and then moving on from that you've got an assortment of whether or not you're going to be bringing 7 wizards, or maybe 3 wizards and some wall breakers, or 6 wizards and a couple of wall breakers. And so basically you start off your troop making with 3 golems and 8 witches. Now of course you can change that a little bit. If you want to have 10 witches, then something else has to go, but in this case you've seen 8 witches, 3 golems and 7 wizards. 4 archers could have been another wizard. These 4 archers and 3 and the minion could also have been a wall breaker, or 3 wall breakers as the case may be. So a whole range of nuances. So what I suggest is make up the basic troop combo. So just make this troop combo up, just for example, and then give this a bit of a play around in your clan just to see how it goes about attacking the bases. 2 jump, 1 rage, 1 heal, 2 poison, and see how that goes. So that's it for today's video. A bit of a look at the GOBOWIWI, golems, bowlers in the clan castle, wizards and witches. Now seeing as we did have a lot of wizards making an appearance, yes, the witches did too, but the wizards made a good appearance today. So the question of the day is, what level wizards can jump higher than a mountain? Actually, the answer is all of them, because a mountain can't jump. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for sticking around. Do leave the video a thumb up, leave the video a comment, ask me anything about the attack. If you'd like to know a little bit more about this kind of attack, remember you need as higher heroes as you can. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.